Hey everyone, it's Lori, and today we are going to do some anointing oils, or we're going to talk about anointing oils. So obviously the first thing I did was I cleansed with the smoke of the Palo Santo. You can see how to do that in one of my other videos, so I'm not going to take up time for that. But people were questioning, like, how do you do anointing oils? You can do, it's an array. They could be never ending. You could have anointing oils for love, blessing, protection, peace, harmony. If you think of something, prosperity, think of something, you could make an oil for it. So you can use one of these little jars. I got a package, I don't know, it was like 100 for $20 on Amazon. And these really are the perfect size because, this size would last forever. You literally take a drop and you anoint, whatever it is you're anointing. And don't forget, when you use anointing oils, you can actually draw your sigils with them. Like if you're doing protection, you can draw your protection sigil over door frame, windowsill, on yourself. So there's many uses on your amulets, your crystals, your candles. Anointing oils, you can anoint anything. Car, pick something, you can anoint it. Excuse me. You can also use bottles like this. This is a giant bottle, so I would never make an anointing oil in this size bottle unless I was making it to fill a bunch of these and giving them as gifts, I also made calendula oil. This had a bunch of calendula in it. I just strained it the other day, and this sat for 8 weeks with calendula in it. It was filled. I strained out the plant life, and I actually created this gorgeous lavender calendula coconut salve. And look at how awesome this came out. I'm so impressed with this. So I made a bunch of these over the weekend. Anyway, back to the anointing oil. So I figured I'd demonstrate how to do one for love. So this has already been cleansed, and you can pick whatever herbs that are associated with love. So I'm going to do rose petal. Roses are always associated with love. They're also good for healing and emotional balance. So I'm just going to stick a few pieces. Whoops. It's always Lori making a mess. A few pieces of roses in there. And of course my calendula. You all know by now, I would hope, how I feel about this one. This is for Love Magic. It can be used for clearing, and it's for honoring sun energy. And I am all about the sun. Oh, see, I'm making a mess again. I'm all about the sun. I love the sun. Give me warm. I am also going to do, look at this, freshly opened hibiscus, which is good for the known uses are love, dream magic, and divination are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. So I'm just going to put a few morsels of that in there. Jasmine flower, which is good for love. You can also use it to attract money. I'm going to put that in there. And I've got some wild cherry bark, which is for love and romance. So I know there's like some controversy with love spells and love potions and whatnot. So I would never personally do a spell to force someone to love me. When I do these types of things, it's typically for self-love, because we all have those times where we're in a pattern of negative self-talk, and that can do a lot to your, emotional state. So I like to do them for self-love, and I also like to do them to enhance the love that I already have. So with me and my husband, we've been together 20 years. It hasn't always been pretty, not gonna lie. It's not been the perfect fairy tale wedding marriage, but it's been beautiful more than not. So, when I do these types of things, it's because I'm enhancing what's already the base foundation of our life together. So enough of that. So this is all of my herbs and plant life that I have put in there. And I know I've mentioned this before in other videos, but for time's sake, the things you don't see behind the scenes is, when I'm doing this for real and not as a demonstration, I actually hold each thing I'm using, and I take a few moments and I envision wild cherry bark. This has the magical properties of love and romance. So I hold this to me, and I think about the things that it has, the properties that it has. And I think about how those things would feel in my life. I try to think of them as if they're already happening. So I don't want to think about them happening. I don't want to think about them as they have happened. I want to think about them how they are happening right now, in this moment. How it feels to feel love. How it feels when my husband and I connect on that perfect level. So those are the things that I think and manifest. How does it feel when I'm feeling good about myself? I feel energized, I feel vibrant, I feel confident, I feel positive, like all of those things happening at this very moment. I don't want to think about future. I don't want to think about the past. I want to think about how it feels right now. So that's how you want to do it. And it's same when you're doing like positive affirmation work. You always want to word things with I am love, I am peace. Not, you never want to say I want to feel love, because that means you don't feel it right now. And that's what we're trying to manifest, is that feeling right now. So once I go through all of the holding and the meditation and the manifesting of what I want, of what these things represent, then I take my oil. And carefully, I'm gonna make a mess. You watch. See, now I will, because words are power, right? I will not make a mess. I will, la la, ta-da, abracadabra. So, there it is. And then I cap it. I give it a little shake. I admire it. And again, I hold on to it, and I think about what it represents and what it is manifesting for me. So that's what I do. And you sit with it as long as you need to. You can, utilize vision, envision that, this light of love is pouring into this bottle, and you're capturing it in this bottle, right? That's what we want to think about. How all of that love is now in this tiny little bottle. So I like to set it aside for a couple of weeks now and label it. If you are like me and you pick something up and go, what the heck is that? And you try to you try to identify it by seeing what you put in there, but sometimes, you don't remember. So you get little like address labels is what I use, and I just write, love, and I write the date on it too, so I remember what, how old it gets. Especially if you're leaving the plant life in here, you don't want to use it probably after a year, because the oil can get rancid, and you'll know as soon as you open it, it's terrible smelling. But that's the other thing I'd like to point out. When you are working with the plants, you can use the stuff right out of your own garden. Just make sure it's fully dried before putting it in here. Otherwise it's moldy. Yeah, ask me how I figured that out. And you also want to not use the bottles with the corks in them, because the corks can absorb the oil and get moldy. Ask me how I know that too. But this one I made probably a couple months ago now. Oh, wait, no, I dated it. March. So yeah, a couple months. The end of March. So this is just an old spice jar I had, and I labeled it. So you can see I like to leave the plant life in there. And this smells so good. It has rosemary and cinnamon and roses from my garden. So this is a beautiful, beautiful mix. And I'm probably going to divvy this up and put it in these tiny bottles and give it away to people that I think could use some self-love right now. So that's it. This is also another combination of love that we just did. They're both love, and you can see I used 2 different ingredients in them. This is a protection blend that I ground up, and it has some chunks in there. I'm also going to put that in one of these little bottles. This is for protection. So as I said, you can use, the combination of herbs that you want. I like to use grapeseed oil because it doesn't break the bank. I buy it in bulk because I use a lot of it. Grapeseed oil is, now there are exceptions to every rule, so remember that. But grapeseed oil, typically people are not allergic to that, and people that have sensitive skin typically don't get a reaction with grapeseed oil. You can use almond oil, olive oil, fractionated coconut oil, jojoba oil. Once you get into like the fancier oils, like jojoba is a beautiful oil, but it can get pricey. So when I'm using it for anointing oils, I don't really get pricey with anointing oils because typically I'm like putting them on door frames and stuff, so who cares? Olive oil is good enough for that. But if I'm doing things for skin, typically I do grapeseed oil. I have sensitive skin, so with the lavender calendula oil, or salve I should say, I used coconut oil and lavender essential oils and my homemade calendula. And the homemade calendula oil is actually wonderful for people that have skin conditions like eczema or psoriasis. It helps to soothe diaper rash, bug bites, poison ivy, things like that. It's antibacterial, I can never say this word, antimicrobial, bleh. Anyway, you catch my drift, I hope. So anywho, that's my lesson today on anointing oils and oils in general, I guess. So if you have any questions, as always, post in the comments below, and I'll catch you later.